Hello, everyone. Welcome, everybody. My name is Faith Berens. I'm one of HSLDA's Special Needs Consultants, and I am so excited today to be joined by my friend and colleague, Joyce Blankenship, who is also one of our Special Needs Educational Consultants. And Joyce has been serving in the field of education for over 30 years. So I'm super excited to have you here, Joyce.
Thank you, and I'm excited to be here. Always a pleasure to speak with you and just chat with you and Faith. So thanks so much.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I consider you one of my homeschooling mentors. So today, Joyce and I are going to chat about equipping your struggling learner or your teen with disabilities through high school and on into adulthood. We're going to share some helpful resources and some encouragements today, and we want to answer as many questions as we can that you may have. So hopefully people are going to be jumping on soon. So I want to quickly just invite everyone to let us know where you're joining from. If you want to drop that in the chat. And I want to invite everyone to let us know what grades that you're homeschooling right now and how long you've been homeschooling. So this is going to be an interactive, fun, and hopefully really encouraging Facebook Live with Joyce and I today. And feel free to drop your questions and comments in the chat to us. All right. So hopefully as people are jumping in here, I see Texas is on. We'll give
Good old Texas.
Yeah.
Hey.
And it looks like Shaniqua, I hope I'm saying your name correctly. You have a 10th and a 7th grader, and you're new. Ooh, are you new? Are you new to homeschooling or new to HSLDA community or both? Let us know. Welcome.
Yeah, welcome.
Yes, she says yes. All right. So hopefully while people are jumping on here, just, let us know. Joyce is joining us from sunny California, and I am actually broadcasting today from Virginia Beach. I live in Virginia, but not at Virginia Beach. I'm traveling with my family, kind of a homeschool field trip, shall we say, learning experience. All right. So it looks like we have Akron, Ohio on, graduating a homeschooler, but looking for launching into adulthood, it looks like. So welcome. That's Laura.
Yes.
Okay. All right. We got Mandy from North Carolina, homeschooled since the beginning. She has a 10th grader and a 6th grader, and she has questions about her oldest. All right. So welcome, everybody. Madison, Alabama, woo woo, 10th grader, homeschooling for 18 years. Wow.
Long time.
All right.
For you.
Yeah. Okay. So Joyce, as people are still hopping on here, let's just go ahead and dive in. I wanted you to just tell a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your homeschooling journey.
Sure. Well, I have been, like Faith said, I've been in the education field for over 30 years. Actually, you can count the years, but I started homeschooling my youngest when she was 5, and she's now 36. Yeah, I think about 36. And I have 5 daughters, and I'm finishing homeschooling hopefully next year my 18-year-old. So been a long trek, a good trek, lots of learning along the way. I have one daughter in the middle, particularly, that kind of got me into this field or more training in the field of special ed. And she, as I homeschooled her, she just struggled with reading. She had some slow processing, and just at a young age. And so I, like many of you, I wondered, what was I doing wrong, or was there something I should be doing? And so, through many different just different ways of teaching her and talking to various people and eventually getting her tested. We did find out that she had some learning disabilities. And So come to high school then, and here she is, and I'm wondering probably the same thing that some of you are here for. Like, can I do this? And will she graduate homeschool with me? And can she get into college if she wants to, or can she get a job? And so I had a lot of those same questions that we're going to talk about today. And just to let you know, she was able to join an educational program through homeschool type activities and a cognitive type program that very much helped her. And she did get through. We got through high school, and I gave her a transcript, an official transcript by parent administrator, and she's now working as an adult. So that's a little bit of my journey. I don't want to take up too much time, but it continues. I have one more, and she's hopefully graduating in sometime next year. And we face a few math challenges, but we're working through them, and she's a hard worker. And so anyway, I am happy to be here, and I have worked with the not just special needs as a consultant, but also with high school, and learned so much there too. So it's nice to be able to put those two together. And I've learned so much from Faith through the years, as she's written much about high school special needs. So there you go.
Well, super excited. Yeah, Joyce, it's great that you have that experience from the high school educational consultant side, and then special needs in your personal experience. And yeah, so we have a lot to talk about today, but thank you for sharing a little bit about your journey. We often get parents, like you said, who are anxious. They have lots of questions, and just for teens that may learn differently, they may not have an official diagnosis, but maybe just have some struggles. So they want to know, how do I get my teen who has these learning struggles through high school? How do I graduate them? So this leads to a great, I guess, topic that you and I talk a lot about, and we share with members is, implementing accommodations at home to help with the course load and getting through coursework, as well as some assistive technology tools. So why don't we land there for a few minutes and chat about some of those things?
Yeah, so accommodations and modifications, we want to be able to explain a little bit about that. Accommodations are changes in the way that we present material to account for learning preference. It's also, it can include where the material is presented and how your student will demonstrate what they know. So things that some of those accommodations could be extended time on a test, using a laptop instead of having to write out an essay, a laptop or a word processor, creating a project to show that your student knows that topic and doesn't have to take maybe just a written test. So now modifications are in the kind of the same group, but they are changes to what is required of a student, and it changes the level of difficulty. So let's say if you're doing math and your student is struggling with math regularly, then you can change the quantity of problems. Or sentences if it's English, or anything like that. You can alter materials, and you can alter the student output, how they're going to again show you what they know. So those are a few accommodations. Do you want to talk about any others, Faith, or any comments? This is something I did the whole time, basically, that I was homeschooling my daughters, especially Bonnie.
Yeah, we had to do that with my daughter through, high school as well. She has a specific learning disability diagnosis. She had some ADD and some visual processing issues. And of course, therapy continued some through high school. We did writing therapy, equine therapy, and she did a cognitive therapy program as well, which really helped her to beef up her processing speed and comprehension and things like that. But audiobooks were great, listening to the audiobook and following along. adaptive text, sometimes getting an easier readability of text. And, often parents would ask, well, is it okay? You brought up modifications. Is it okay if my student's a high schooler, but maybe I use, I love Apologia, but that textbook is not accessible for my students. So could we use the middle school level? And, our stance is homeschooling is an individualized education plan. We naturally can offer accommodations and modify because we know our students best and we're the administrators of our school. And so why not use a different level of textbook, and you could beef it up with DVD or, other things to make that course high school level, even though the textbook may not be. So those are some things that we did.
Right. And in master books, and science has some great 7th and 8th grade level archaeology, geology, and that type of thing. And my daughter was in high school, but she wanted to learn that, and so I used those, and I did maybe beef them up a little bit, and added some videos from Compass Classroom about creation science, and and it created a little bit more robust. But yeah, we did that a lot, and I think you can modify curriculum, whether either up or down, whether you need it to be a little bit more rigorous for some kids or less rigorous. So
that's really great. That's a great point. Yeah, because we do have students that are twice exceptional, gifted. They're really strong in one area, but they may have a learning disability or a learning glitch in another area. And so by adjusting curricula, pacing, sometimes even over high school. I know for myself, as a person with a learning disability, I didn't carry a full course load in high school. I would take a harder class over the summer. And for some parents, graduation or high school at home with homeschool may be a 5-year plan or longer, depending on the severity of the student's needs. And so you could even modify the length of your high school program too.
Right, that's a great point, and that's excellent. Yes, and even if in that 5th year, sometimes if your child, and I've come across this with one of my daughters, if they're saying, but I don't want to do 5 years of high school, you can say, well, what about taking maybe a college course or two at the community college, or an online college course that would be, maybe something that's their strength. So they feel like they can get some college credits or something like that. And they feel like they're not just spinning their wheels in high school anymore. So, if that's something to think about, that's something that I'm doing with one of my daughters now in that 5th year. So she's feeling like she's not too left behind. So
that's a great point. It's a great a bridge way too. And, kind of a gap year or a super senior year, or whatever you want to deem that.
Yeah.
So we do have a comment. Somebody was asking about specific therapy that increased processing speed, and you had brought up a cognitive therapy as well, Joyce. And both Joyce and I are trained in what was called NILD therapy. So do you want to speak to that, and then I'll share mine?
Sure. So my daughter in 10th grade was able to have the advantage of educational therapy with NILD, which is National Institute of Learning Development. And it was basically a lot of cognitive. She learned, they used subjects like math and writing and in order to increase the cognition and in writing. It was it was intense for about 2 years, but we certainly saw some change. She felt like she told me that she felt like she was changing or getting somewhere. Before, I think she felt a little bit stuck. And I saw things in her math, whereas more quickly she could, in her math facts or just her processing speed did increase, and also just her self-confidence, so much so that when she graduated, she came back the next year on her own to that same educational therapist who was like a mentor, also a friend and mentor. And she actually did on her own. She did the therapy. I think she either paid for it or but it was her decision that she needed a little bit more. And so it was a very good decision on our part. And so that's NILD. That was our experience with that. Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. Yeah, and ours was Equipping Minds, and we did that my daughter's 8th grade year to help prepare her to transition into high school, because she was taking some co-op classes and a class. She was taking actually Latin at a private Christian school that served homeschoolers part-time her 8th grade year. And she said that she felt like when the teacher would do something on the board and she was having to think about it and hold that in her mind, by the time she got it down on paper, the teacher had already moved on. So that's something called working memory, where I have to, and also attention. I have to attend to this. I have to take in the auditory information, but also write and get it down. And I have to look up and hold it in my mind and get it down. And so her processing speed was slow, working memory. So note taking was really hard. And obviously note taking is a huge part of high school, just learning in general. So so we did Equipping Minds, and it helps to beef up cognition and the foundational skills for processing, visual memory, auditory memory, your working memory, attention, something that's called divided attention, and also teaching strong visualization skills. So, so her comprehension improved, and that helped her. We counted it as a study skills class, and some people count that as logic and reasoning. So it can be counted as a class or an elective.
Isn't that neat too, that the kids can realize the time that they spent in those classes, or with Equipping Minds or NILD, can actually give them credit in high school? And that's encouraging. I think that's really encouraging to our kids. And one point that you had about note taking, and one thing that helped my daughter was something called an assistive technology called a Livescribe pen. And that is something that you could look into if your difficulty remembering working memory. And basically it's a little pen that you use that actually records what's going on, the lecture, and then later on it will even write it out on the computer. It's attached, and so it's digitally attached there, and if they can go back over notes that way. And so it's the Livescribe pen can help a lot with that working memory, as well as maybe someone with dysgraphia or writing difficulties.
Yeah, and I think using those assistive tech tools are a really important part to train students during the high school years, not just teaching note taking, but different ways of note taking. You know, maybe you have a child that's more creative and they like to doodle, and they can do more mind mapping note taking, and that can be a way to teach study skills during high school. We want to teach formats of note taking, be it Cornell note taking or other ways, and then utilizing that assistive technology to help them for the output as well as the input. So there's Co-Writer is a program that helps with writing. And do you want to speak about maybe a couple other assistive tech tools that
sure, for writing also, or for there's voice recognition software called Dragon Dictate or Dragon Speak. And that's if your child or your teen has had really struggles with getting those thoughts on paper for whatever reason, they can use that voice to text. And then it's later on they can go over it and look review it. But that has been very helpful to a lot of people that I talk with. There's also something called Ginger Spell for writing that basically is grammar, and it checks your grammar, and it's very easy, I think, to put on your computer or to just take advantage of, and or your phones or whatever we're using. So that's another one. Reading, there's so much. You've already discussed things like audiobooks. There is something. There's something. It's the one that's called Cursewell 3000 is a reading program, and you listen. It listens and it reads scanned text. So basically, you have a textbook, and it can basically scan it and read it to the student. So that's available at some colleges, and that would be something you could ask if this child's going to college. And again, Bookshare is where you can find audio books, and that's a free organization, as well as Learning Ally. So that just about any textbook or any book that you could ask, they will digitally master and give you so that your child can listen to it. And a lot of kids prefer that listening or listening and reading. So you ask your child which, if either, or they can try both, and that really helps with the comprehension and memory. So those are just a few others.
Those are great, and I would encourage any person, and specifically any teen too, for launching. Whether you're transitioning to community college or some type of vocational training school or work, anything, to use Grammarly, to use these tech tools that are available. Sometimes students may say, "Oh, but isn't this cheating, or isn't this unfair?" But most colleges now are requiring students to use Grammarly. I know in my doctorate program, you have to use it. It's made available to us for free. So tap into those things. They're very helpful for output and input. So switching back a little bit, Mandy asked a question. We were talking about the 5-year plan, and she said, could you expand on that for transcripts for a minute? So how could a transcript for a teen with special needs look a little different than maybe a typical high school student, Joyce? And what would that look like if it was 5 years?
So you have some choices. One, we have transcript templates, or you can make your own, where you actually do have 5 years, and you call that, the last year you would call it 12 plus, and then put super senior, so that someone is understanding that's what you're doing, and then just list every year, and then add, everything else is the same pretty much, the grade point average. Another thing you can do, so that's called a yearly transcript. Another thing you can do is use a subject transcript, where you basically you list everything by subjects. So it doesn't exactly show that this was 5 years. I mean, you're not hiding it, because in the dates at the top, you're going to say the years that you were in high school, at least once there. But it's basically a way to show everything you've done, and it maybe just doesn't show each year. So that's a valid way. Can you think of others, Faith? I think.
Well, we have our daughter do a resume as part of, writing class and part of career exploration during high school. But then we actually developed a narrative transcript. It's just a different format, which, she could then use with her resume or cover letter as because when she graduated, she decided to work for a year, and she did home health for a year. And then she got another job for a year where she learned Excel, and so she knew that she didn't want to go to a 4-year college. So I will say that the format you choose, and Joyce, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I would think that the format the parent chooses needs to match what the student is going to be doing. Colleges probably have a specific transcript format they want to see things in. So, but we have those various templates available for our members, correct?
Right. I think that most 4-year colleges, or a lot of 4-year colleges, are used to seeing the yearly transcript, where you list what you've done each year, and so that was something they're most familiar with. So that's something to take into consideration, exactly what Faith said. And even, I know we'll probably get into this too, but as we're planning on what your whole high school can look like through each year, always we're of course saying, what do we think this student might do, or want to do, or what when they're done post-secondary. Will they go to college? Will they go to military? Will they into the military possibly? Will they go right to work? Or so, of course, what we're trying to decide, like courses, levels, and those. I think we'll talk a little bit about that. That's going to, of course, be considered in all our decisions through high school planning.
Yeah, and I know I've heard you high school ladies say, plan in pencil, and the
Yes.
high school consultants have planning sheets that you can use, and we also in the special needs department have a high school 4 or 5 year plan, like a goal sheet where you can kind of map out some ideas, again in pencil. Be flexible, because plans can change. I'll tell you, my daughter's kind of hopped all around all over the place. What am I going to be now? What am I going to do next? And that's okay,
It is.
So we have those resources, and people could call and email in, and that's what the educational consultants are here to help with, is planning and record keeping and things like that. So,
and the high school consultants also, as well as special needs. Very helpful.
Absolutely. So you did bring up, planning, and which kind of leads us to coursework, because often parents will call or email and they'll ask, well, what if my student's below grade level, or they're not capable, they may have some more severe needs, and they can't do, higher level maths, or, they're not going to, if you don't take calculus, or you don't take this class, then you can't do, regular chemistry. So can we kind of talk a little bit about math and science and maybe alternative coursework here for a minute? Because I know math was my nemesis, and I have one kid who struggled with math a lot, and another kid who struggled with, writing but not reading. So you kind of have to customize depending on their needs and capabilities.
Yes, definitely. And that's the beauty of homeschooling, so much that I've appreciated. Well, we do have a lot of, as homeschoolers, we have a lot of flexibility. We have a lot of freedom to develop the plan for our kids that's going to be just what they need. Or as we go through, we might change it. But so, for instance, let's take maybe science. So a typical science in high school, a typical learner might take biology, and then chemistry, and then physics. And if they're real sciencey, they'll probably take maybe anatomy or something like that. But my kids were not sciencey, and they actually, they took maybe biology, and then my last daughter here took archaeology and geology. That was together. And so that's kind of a physical science. And then she took a life science, which is the biology. And she may end up taking oceanography through college. So those will be her sciences. And we can change. But you're always looking towards their goal. If at this time, like by the time they're a junior or senior, if they're going into a 4-year college, what might that be? And go to that 4-year college admission online and look at their admissions page for freshmen and see what do they require for science. Do they want chemistry? So now, if they do want chemistry, and your child still may be struggling with a chemistry class, a typical chemistry class, then there are some alternatives you can use that can still be considered a chemistry. But maybe it's something like the 101 series, where it's video oriented, and it is not something that they have to read a whole textbook and do lots of tests. So it's not language oriented as much. But you can use that. They have a way that you can get credit for that by following their plan. So something like that is so helpful to realize that you're individualizing. But you also have that freedom. One thing I would say, though, is as you're planning your high school, make sure at the very beginning that you look at our legal page or talk to our legal department, but they tell and see if your state does have any specific graduation requirements. Let's say they want you to take biology and chemistry. Now, that's not very common. There's only believe three states that actually have graduation requirements for homeschoolers. Other than that, there's more flexibility, right, Faith?
Yeah. When you say graduation requirements, you mean where the state is specifying which particular classes they have to take.
Yes.
Because in most states, and that's where you talk with the legal department, if you remember, it's really helpful, because in most states, it's pretty general. They say, the student has to have 4 Englishes and or 3 sciences, and they don't specify what those are. And that's what we did in the state of Virginia. I mean, my daughter took a chemistry class, but it was kitchen chemistry. It was edible science and cooking chemistry, where she didn't have to do all the math. We looked at our community college requirements, and they didn't have, she had very basic math classes that she had to master and to get through in order to start at community college. And community college can be a great stepping stone, and then students can transfer on to university, particularly those of us with a learning disability. But college is possible. But Joyce made an excellent point. You have to check to see what requirements are. Requirements in your state for graduation, but also requirements to get into programs. And you want to plan with the end in mind, or your goals in mind, and work your way backwards.
Exactly. Yeah, good points. And it's doable, and we're happy to if you chat with you. You can call us if you're a member, and just kind of talk through some of those areas that you might need help in planning, and just discuss what your child's goals might be, and then how can this look? How can their freshman or sophomore year look?
Yeah. So what about math, Joyce? Because for us, I mean, my daughter did a general math class, a consumer math, and she worked with a tutor mostly all the way through high school. And then at the community college level, they did have to do a placement test. They used the AccuPlacer at the community college. And then if kids don't place at a certain level, then at community college, they would take like a remedial class. And there's help and supports for students with learning problems at the college level. So what are some things that maybe you all did for math that could encourage people who are
Right. So the same idea was that for a typical math might be algebra 1, algebra 2, geometry, and calculus. That could be a typical someone that's strong in math. Or, but for my kid, for some of my daughters, we even started with pre-algebra in high school, and counted a credit for that. Then we went on to algebra and geometry. We used curriculum that was, let's say, not as rigorous. And so, something like, I really like Mr. D Math, because they're self-paced, online, and very well explained, and you can get extra help on certain days. But so for high school math, I've used that with one of my children. One of my daughters only did pre-algebra, algebra, and geometry. So that's 3 maths. And she got into a 4-year college with that. Now, I don't think they counted the pre-algebra as credit, but she had 2 others, and that's all they required for that. It was a private college, for a Christian college. So we've done various things, but I have used things like, even Right Start Math, let's see, Math You See through the years is another one where you have the CDs, or you have, the computer, and it's self-paced. And I think self-paced is just a really good way to go, rather than weekly classes where your student might fall behind. So financial literacy has been wonderful for my youngest daughter. Has some math in it, but it also, they don't have to do a lot of figuring or computing, but they are learning about taxes and buying a car and even stocks and bonds and things like that, savings. And so that has been worth its weight in gold. So that's another one that we've done. Consumer math we've done is a little bit different, where you're some of the same ideas, but in a broader sense, a little bit more. Those are some things we've done that have worked well in math. We're not strong in math too much, but that's okay, and that's all right. And kids have been successful without a real strong basis in math, and so
yeah, we used Matthew C, the stewardship, which is basically consumer math, and then lined up job shadowing and working, and my daughter did waitressing and worked at a deli, and she had to learn how to make change and do all the things. So it's very practical applications of math and life skills, and all those things are important. Mandy asked a good question here. What if your child doesn't know what they want to do? Her daughter's in 10th grade. She wants to customize her courses. She's already in 10th grade, doesn't have a clear idea of what they want to do. Hey, most people don't know what they want to do. even kids they go off to college and they change majors, 3-4 times or whatever. They don't know what they want to do.
Yeah. And one thing I would say is we do have, our high school has a brochure that has a general high school plan. You could use that. You could use that for just how many math and maybe what types of math to take. This is usually for someone that's not going to college, but you could do that the first few years. And then if you decide to go to college, it's easy to change. You add some courses. So yeah, I think that just kind of having a plan and working through it. And really another thing I suggest is just help her explore her interests. Is she interested in animals, and is she interested? And then let her go work with a dog groomer. One of my daughters did that in high school, and she found out she didn't want to do that later. She had to clean up all the dog hair. That was all. So but really look at her interests, make some electives through her interests, and each year or and those can count as classes. And then, hopefully by the time she's 12th grade, she'll have a few more, maybe some road or direction, but maybe not. And that's okay. And a lot of kids go into college and just start their general ed. But like one of my daughters really likes literature, and she loved her teacher during high school, homeschool. And she said, well, maybe perhaps I want to be a literature teacher. And we don't know, but that's an interest. And so you can like take that and give her some good literature classes, or, make your own, or get her in some co-op that could help her with that. So that would be, do you have any ideas? Any other ideas, Faith?
Yeah, those are really good points. I think basically tapping into your students' strengths and their interests. So if you have a student that really loves art, then shepherding that and encouraging that, lining up like photography classes or graphic design, and maybe think about where you do business or your community of faith and your friend group. Who do you know that could help maybe mentor, your student in their area of interest? Are there places that they can volunteer and learn skills around their area of interest? And that's going to help them to make decisions. Oh, I might really be interested in studying this. We did that with equine because my daughter loved horses. She got a job doing trail rides and mucking stables, and then she did pony parties and all kinds of things.
That's awesome.
She learned very good people skills, and she had to, work on time management and all kinds of practical life skills. But then she also said, well, maybe I want to think about a career in equine, maybe vet tech with large animals or things like that. And so, but then she also loved going with my mom, who was a geriatric care nurse, and which kind of led her to do that year of working. Um, she did home health for a year and had thought about maybe becoming a CNA or going into nursing. So she's tried a lot of different things and she's learned a lot of skills. And no, she's not in college right now. And yes, it's driving me crazy because I want her to nail down, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to do? It's not on my timetable. And I think part of that's just us as parents too, like helping to shepherd and encourage them and allowing them time to develop. And those are just some of my thoughts that, things that we've done.
Yeah, I think really letting them take time to explore their interests or what they love to do. One of my daughters was able to, very good, she was good at art, still is. She's now an adult, but she had a chance to work with someone, a couple at our church that gave her some help in graphic design and some projects. And that was just really, I think that was a good stepping stone for her. She kind of saw what it might be like to be in that field, and she eventually went into that and for quite a few years. And so that was kind of a job. I don't know if she got paid, I can't remember, but it didn't really matter because it definitely paid off. So yeah, I would say looking for people at your church or your groups that you're in, and seeing, can my daughter or son, can we have some time to just shadow and see what you actually do here as a vet or as a graphic designer. So I think that's excellent. And I would also suggest, like you said, taking a career exploration class, or there's so many. Seven Sisters has a great one there, and just that really helps to go through. You make a resume, but it also just really has a lot of questionnaires that just gets you thinking, gets them thinking. Man, this sounds like amazing, or this is like, no way would I want to do this after work with these animals in a groomer afterwards. Design a career, or you don't even have to design it. They're out there. The career exploration is excellent in at least once during your high school years.
And that would really help with transition. If our kids were in public school and they had a specific disability and they had an IEP or a accommodation plan in public school, the teen years, they changed that plan to what's called a transition plan. So in high school, lining up the career exploration and job shadowing and all those things would really be, that's their transition plan. We are helping them to make that shift to moving into adulthood and launching. I know on our high school, on the website, we have links to like career interest tests or things like that. But do you have any other resources to help families that are looking at, launching teens post-secondary? What are some ways that we can help with making those transitions? And
a couple things. One, there is something called the Berens Transition Skills Inventory that you can rent from us, or and what it is a just kind of what it says. It says you go through your child to see how well are they doing in their functional writing skills. Are there gaps? Are there gaps in their math skills? What about communication skills? Are they able to, look someone in the eye and chat with them? Their career interests, they'll assess those, and employability skills. So you're assessing these with your child, your teen. You're in high school at some point, maybe toward the end or even toward the beginning of high school, and then you can work on those things that you're finding out that they're kind of weak in this, like even learning to give a good handshake to someone when they're introduced. This is going to, have a bearing on life, on their social skills. And of course, social skills, again, would be something that you want to be working all the way along with. And you can do this in your family, you can do it with friends, you can do it with church, just having them be with our kids meet and be with a variety of people, adults as well as kids, and learning to start conversations. And then I really think what I call what are called the soft skills are very important. And those things are the communication. That's one of them. Another is even a soft skill of having an attitude, a positive attitude, and kind of working on that. That's not going to, if there's a negative attitude, it's not going to go away in a minute with my teen or with myself. That takes some learning and talking, and so just having that positive attitude, learning to critically think and problem solve. And there are curriculum for that, but there's also like life. When life happens and your child comes up with a problem, I don't know what to do. I'm having a problem with this friend, and they don't like me, or just like, okay, so this is a problem. Let's think about what are some things that you could do to mitigate this or to help the situation, and talking and discussing through these things. So not just the hard academics are the things that prepare our kids for life, but so much more, also self-determination. Do they have goals? Can you help them with goals? Can you achievable goals? Things where they're, how do I make a right choice in this area? And again, we're guiding them and letting them make choices and maybe even mistakes, but it's better while they're in high school to make smaller mistakes, I would say, than afterwards in real life when they make a little bit bigger mistakes. But we all learn from mistakes, and that's just life. And but those are the kind of things, like working with a team, little maybe group projects, somehow get some friends or a co-op, and they're working on a project together. That's really important in the workplace as well as in life. So
yeah, those are all really good points. I love that you said soft skills, and some of the things that we did during high school was I had my daughter read. Well, we read it together and we talked about it. Dr. Ben Carson's book for teens, You Have a Brain. And then there was this book I found called Anxiety Free Kids, because my daughter dealt with a lot of anxiety. And you mentioned, soft skills, employability skills. There was a time when she didn't even want to answer the phone. And so we had to work on just even a skill like that, answering the phone, taking messages, just kind of being afraid to talk to people she didn't know, is out of her comfort zone. She's fine. She's very outgoing and chatty with people she knows. But so overcoming some of those fears and anxieties. So doing a book study or finding resources. I love Carol Dweck's book, Growth Mindset, her work on, you mentioned attitude and having a growth mindset. So those are some resources, and some tips and ideas for families too. But
if your child's on the spectrum, or maybe even not, Temple Grandin has a book called the Loving Push, I believe it is, The Loving Push, where she, I was able to hear her speak at one point, and she really advocates in not doing everything for your kids and for your teens, but let them get out there and get a job, and let them talk to people. Don't hide them from that, or don't protect them. And so that might be another book to check out.
Okay, The Loving Push, Carol Dweck, Growth Mindset, Dr. Ben Carson.
How to raise an adult is another book. It's pretty interesting.
Okay, How to Raise an Adult. Okay. Yeah. Somebody mentioned they didn't catch the title of the Transition Skills Inventory assessment.
Yeah, that's the Brigance, BRIGANCE, Transition Skills Inventory. If you're a member, we rent it to members. So you can, I believe, have it for a week or two for a cost, and use that each year, or to see how they've progressed, or use it, just, however the situation deems.
Yeah. Okay, so do you have any special programs or groups or organizations that parents could tap into other than HSLDA, as we have a great community here? We want to come alongside you to make homeschooling possible, through high school. We like to say diapers to diplomas. We got you. Do you have any other resources or other organizations? Because I know that for me as a homeschool mom through high school, my daughter, she didn't want to just hear it from me. We found her a mentor. We lined up other things because she needed to receive from other people, because her attitude was, Mom, well, of course you're going to think that because you're a mom, or of course you say that, or, or what do you know? You're just my mom. So can you speak to that a little bit? Are there other organizations, resources to point people to?
Yeah. So some of those, for a good one for transition, but also they have a Center for Future Planning, is the ARC. It's ARC. They help young people and families develop a transition plan. They help with employability, job applications, resumes, that type of thing. So that's a good one.
They also put on a prom, don't they? They put on a special prom for people with disabilities. Saw that in our community.
Oh, I wasn't aware of that. But yeah, that could be really fun too. So yeah, look into their resources. Easter Seals has work services and training available. Another one is Scottish Rights. Is if you're looking for remediation help in reading or speech, they are a nonprofit organization, I believe, and they have clinics across the nation. So they have good programs, good remedial programs. Johnny and Friends is an excellent resource. They have family camps. They have mental health resources. They have just a variety, a ministry directory. So that's a great one. Some of them for if you're Autism Speaks has lots of resources, as well as a lot of them have like a directory or database for professionals there. SPED Homeschool is SPED Homeschool. They are a wonderful resource for homeschoolers with children with special needs, and they go all the way up to high school. They have a directory, I believe, of people that mentors or just consultants that you might want to reach out to and let them be part of your child's life. I know for me, my third child, we did not have a direct mentor, but her educational consultant became a friend and mentor through the years. So that was just invaluable. So Eye to Eye has mentoring, and I believe that's more for dyslexia, Faith.
It is, and it's EYE.
EYE.
I to E. Yeah, I to I. Sorry, it's EYE. But yeah, it's mentors for teens and kids with dyslexia. Yeah.
Yeah, there's the Yale Center for Creativity and Dyslexia is a wonderful resource to learn more about dyslexia, but also to encourage your kids with people that have become that are professionals and that have, just become successful in life, even though they have dyslexia. So that's a great resource as well. Friendship Circle. I think we haven't talked too much about that. Friendship Circle is a great place where there's support and for individuals with special needs. I'm not aware of all the types of support, but I know there's vocational programming and educational support. Are you aware of more in that Friendship Circle International?
I know that they are a Jewish-based organization, and of course, a lot of in the Jewish community, they have a lot of community centers. So I know they offer mentoring, but it's, not specific just to Jewish people. But I don't know exactly what else they offer other than mentoring. But you brought up Johnny and Friends, and that's Johnny Erickson Tada's ministry. And more and more churches are having disability ministries, and, where they take people out and do things, and there's fellowship groups and training and job training and book clubs and all kinds of things. So we are just very blessed here in the United States that people with disabilities, we do have a lot of resources, more so than many other countries. Yeah.
Even respite organizations and resources too, for parents that need a break. So there's various different throughout our country. I know that years back I volunteered a little bit at a place called Jill's House, and that was in Northern Virginia. And that was exactly where they could leave your kids for even a weekend, and you get to go off and have a vacation as mom and dad. So special needs.
Yeah, that's right. And so Mandy was asking that resources for parents. Homeschooling can be lonely, especially with children with learning difficulties. Yes. And we understand that, and that's why we really want to come alongside people and be here for you. Our the nonprofit and our organization that helps families with grants and even just prayer support for families is called Compassion. That's our charitable arm.
Yeah.
There is a group for parents that are raising kids with dyslexia, and that's called Decoding Dyslexia. That's a parent grassroots organization. And Joyce mentioned Sped Homeschool. That's another great place to find not just resources, but community, because if you go to spedhomeschool.com, you can find a tribe in your area. You can also find Facebook support groups. You can join the HSLDA Facebook page. And so those are some ways to find support for parents. And I think there's an organization called Nathaniel's Hope, and they help families line up respite care or find respite care. So those are some resources for parents. Yeah. So we're going to have to start wrapping up our time here. But man, we've covered a lot of ground, Joyce, and you're a wealth of information and
thank you.
Wisdom, knowledge, encouragement. So if families need help with finding maybe a college or a post-secondary program and help with kind of transitioning to post-secondary, is that something that you or the high school consultants can assist with?
So there are a variety of colleges. We do. I think that yes. So it depends. If someone called and asked for a specific, like, can you tell us all the Christian colleges in California, in United States, that would probably be difficult. But we can work with your questions. There are some special needs colleges that are specific for special needs, and some of those we can help you out with a few of those names. There's also a few programs around that. There's CLE, which can help you with when your child goes to college. If you pay a certain amount, and they will help your child with everything from getting accommodations to feeling comfortable, social. They're there to be a support for your child.
Is that college living experience?
Yes, that's
what CLE is.
Experience. That's what it is. Yes. So that's something that you could look into. You don't have to, just because your child has some special needs, don't just think that, no, the college isn't going to happen, or I just don't ever see it, because motivation is a big thing in life. And if a child is motivated, they can fly. So I would say just, keep on looking, keep on look through. There are a variety of resources in colleges, and I'd be happy to chat with you about that, as well as our high school consultants. I think could be helpful.
Great. Thank you. And I know oftentimes when college comes up, parents will say, well, but my child, maybe they can't or they won't do well on a college entrance exam. And so our consultants will help them navigate the process of applying for accommodations. We'll coach you on how to do that. We have some resources to help if your student needs to take or wants to take the ACT or SAT. That could be a whole another topic in and of itself. But please feel free to call or email the special needs educational consultants or your high school consultants here at HSLDA. We want to help you. We want to support you and encourage you. Joyce, I just thank you so much. This has been power packed, and just so appreciate you, not only as a colleague, as a friend, but also you've been a mentor to me in my homeschooling journey as well. And we just thank everybody for being here today. There was a question, is this going to be replayed? Typically, yes, our Facebook Lives are replayed. You can catch those. So thank you for joining us today. We encourage you to check out our special needs resources here at hslda.org/teaching-my-kids/special needs. We're going to drop those that link in the comments. If you have specific questions or you need advice or encouragement when it comes to homeschooling your struggling learner, you can always reach out to the special needs educational consultant team at HSLDA, available through membership. And we'd love to have you join us. If you'd like to join HSLDA, that link will be there in the show notes as well. Thank you again for attending, and we hope that everyone has a wonderful day.
Yes, thank you so much. It's just been a pleasure. And thank you, Faith, for just leading this.
Happy to chat with you.
Yes, it's been wonderful.
Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you.